Welcome to the Level Up Sports Network. I'm your host, Leo, alongside a very special guest, Tyler Boronski, um, first grad of Dan Patrick's School of Sportscasting and a current interview reporter and social media creator. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, Leo, thanks for having me on your show. Appreciate that intro. So excited for this.
So I just want to ask first question, kind of getting into broadcasting and stuff like that. Um, so I've done a few interviews so far. Something I've found is kind of tricky for me is whenever you ask a question and then they kind of give an answer and then you're like kind of going to the next question. Do you have any advice about like kind of doing like a follow up or like trying to respond to their answer? Because that's just something I want some advice on.
Yeah, definitely. And it comes with time and reps doing this, just being honest. And honestly more life experiences, but it really is like listening, closely to what they're saying and seeing if there's something that you can just push the conversation forward. You don't want to just say something afterwards just to say something, but if you can
Yeah.
add on to what their point is and have maybe a different angle to push it or just something in your life you've experienced that can relate to it, um, that's a way to like if the guest is taking it this way to keep going that way in that direction for the time being. But as the interviewer and the host of the show, you are in charge of eventually steering it back to whatever main topics you do eventually want to head on. But it is good to not just go to your next question right away. And if they especially if they say something that's interesting and intriguing and maybe something you never thought about before and you want to take it that direction. But yeah, it does come with just like you know really thinking, listening closely to what they're saying and finding something that you feel like you can add value to that point into that conversation. If you don't, there actually is nothing wrong with just like moving forward to the next question. But uh, it does, like I said, come with reps a little bit and some experiences.
Yeah, definitely. And
Yeah,
like, so I don't know, I've done interviews and
yeah,
like certain questions, like you kind of feel weird. You're like, now the next question. So
right.
that's I've watched your interviews, very impressive.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, like it's tough. Like I probably, if I look back at like my old like minor league baseball interviews when I was like in high school, like I probably was doing just like next question, next question. But I think especially now that like a lot of I do a lot of baseball, a lot of golf. It's like I know a lot of people within the game too. So then you can also mention like mutual friends or mutual people they know, and then
Yeah,
um, there's just like then you can take it to a whole different conversation. Because like even now when I go like to the Marlins, like I have a few bullet points in my head on like what I want to hit on, but like honestly, like I don't like write anything down. I have no
yeah,
questions prepared, like in terms of like writing something down. It's just like, all right, I got a few bullet points that I can hit on and I'm good to go with. But if they say something intriguing, like I'll just go down the path that they take me on. So
yeah, definitely. So I don't know if you're familiar with so actually I've just been starting it last summer. I go to these broadcasting camps in the summer.
okay.
And like they have it in like different cities and stuff. And we kind of work on every single kind of thing, like play by play,
Yeah.
interview, all that kind of stuff. So I'll definitely try to work on that this summer.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. That's so cool that you're doing that. Like I wish I did something like that, to be honest. I never did any of that stuff. Not until really I feel like my college experience, that was like my boot
Yeah.
camp of broadcasting. But that's cool that you're doing that. What camp are you doing?
It's called Play by Play Sports Broadcasting Camp.
Okay. Awesome.
I'm doing it in Philly and then New Jersey this summer.
Fantastic, man. Well, wish you luck. That'll be a good experience for you.
Yeah, definitely. Um, let's see. So I'm this spring so far. I've started announcing like high school baseball games and stuff. Just on like there's like a town YouTube channel where they
Yeah.
broadcast all the games. So I've been starting to do that. Um, do you think I should just I mean, like, is it something that I should be trying to do, like, every single kind of thing? Like, if I don't know, if there's, like, a sport that I don't really know about, like, should I try to be getting into every single kind of thing?
Yeah, especially your age, even if you know maybe a certain area in the field that you want to go right now. Maybe it does change, and you wouldn't know that until you experience different aspects of, you know, this career path. Like I've never had interest doing play by play. I knew it, but I still did it a lot in college. I did it for Rollins College, um, just to get the reps in being on air and on camera at times. So you do the hits on camera and just practicing, being uncomfortable. Like honestly, it's such a good skill set because you'll run into that throughout your career, and sometimes you do have to do things that maybe you don't want to do, but an opportunity pops up and it's worth doing. So I would say just try it all, do all different types of sports. Like to my earlier point, like I said, I never did play by play in like high school or anything. I started doing it when I was in college and did it for Rollins. And my first thing was volleyball, which I had no knowledge in whatsoever. So I'm already like so out of my comfort zone doing it. And was it the best? Like no, but like it was good to expose myself to those type of feelings and situations, and it just helps in the long run overall. So yeah, definitely expose yourself to as many different sports, different formats of this industry, because it'll pay off. And it'll give you a new appreciation too for people that do those roles, and even like the behind the scenes people that you interact with, as you do some maybe higher end productions, and you have more like producers and even editors and all the above. Like you'll get a new appreciation that you wouldn't have prior if you didn't do it. So do it for sure.
Yeah, I'll start doing that because the guys like want to do a volleyball game, and I'm like, I do not know anything about volleyball
But
in general.
that's the
So
beauty of it. Study as much as you can, and then you give it a shot. Who cares at the end of the day how it
yeah,
goes? You do your best, but it's not the end of the world. And luckily, like you said, it's not a super high end platform. So
yeah.
it's just for the reps at the end of the day. It's like that's all that matters. Like honestly, and that never changes. But like that's the way to look at it.
Um, so you mentioned where that you're from Connecticut.
Mhm.
Where were you from again?
From the town's called Monroe, Connecticut. It's in like Fairfield County area, very close to Bridgeport. So that's the biggest city. And yeah,
Yeah,
that's just it's like the New York side of Connecticut, so very close to that.
yeah. I'm not familiar, or I don't know if did you take any opportunities as like a kid in high school and stuff in like Connecticut sports or stuff like that?
Yeah, so like my school didn't have any like broadcasting program, and I didn't go to any of those camps that you're going to, which I think is awesome. So the how I even started this career path is I lived next to this like minor league baseball team, the Bridgeport Bluefish. They don't exist anymore. Um, I grew up like going to a lot of games there because I live so close by. And just like as a sports fan, you watch ESPN, you watch MLB Network. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like you can talk to the players, and oh shoot, that's a career path. And I was like, I kind of know some players now. Going to this minor league ballpark a lot. So, long story short, I was able to set up to get a credential one day to interview a player, and I was like, wow, this is so much fun, so cool. I would love to do more of these, and then basically started a YouTube channel just to um, put the videos on. Honestly, like that was it. And someone create a portfolio, and then just fell in love with it. And I was going to this ballpark in Connecticut all the time, and then I even started traveling within that league. I was going to New Jersey on weekends. I was going to Pennsylvania, even at times, New York. And that's when I really fell in love with it more. And then like, all right, I was senior in high school. Okay, where can I go to do this? And then eventually landed at Full Sail and the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting, and rest is history from there. But yeah, it was really like myself, ambition and hustle. But that's why I also say like I didn't really know what I was doing in high school. It was good. I was like putting in the work, but like I had no foundation whatsoever. And that's why I credit my college a lot for actually giving me like a base and the fundamentals to move forward in this career.
Definitely. I know from Connecticut. I don't know. I mean, I know that a lot of people like I'm the only one in my camp who ever wants to do golf or something like that. Were you into golf as a kid, and did you go down to the Travelers? Because I know every year I'm at the Travelers since my brother and sister actually work for the tournament. My brother
Oh,
works there
really?
full time, so
Oh, that's
I
awesome.
go there every year. And have you ever been down there?
I've never been a traveler, so golf has definitely been something I've come to enjoy more and like later in my life. I was not into golf at all in high school. I was really baseball's always been my number one sport. Always loved basketball and football as well. Um, Hockey I got into a little bit more once I started working at Nesson when I was in Boston. And then golf has been, I would really say the last like few years, honestly, is when I've got more into golf. And then obviously doing TGL
Yeah,
the last couple of years, that's grown my interest in the sport even more. And then of course, following the PJ Tour more than I did before. So but no, I never been a travelers. That's pretty cool that you go each year, and they'll be coming up soon. What
yeah.
next? Yeah.
So you said TGL. So I think a few months ago I went down to Florida since my grandparents live in like Palm Beach area.
Yeah. I'm in West
So
Palm Beach. There you go, nice and close by.
so I went down to it was a weekend where there was the Cognizant and the TGL. So
Nice.
I went down to the Cognizant and got to see Sunday. It was cool. Nico ended up
Yep.
winning. Shane
After
collapsed. But
Shane, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I felt bad.
Um, so I don't know if you probably are familiar with the Cognizant.
Oh, I covered the Cognizant this year, so yeah. I didn't do Sunday. I could only do Thursday and Friday. Uh, yeah, Thursday and Friday if I remember. So yeah, very familiar.
Yeah, so I think the only disappointing thing about that was really the field. I mean,
Yeah,
it's still PGA Tour players, but I mean, I don't know what you can do as the PGA Tour to change up the schedule in between three signature events.
yeah. I mean, that's the thing. There's always gonna be an event that is you know falls victim of that situation. So it happened to be the Cognizant. Like, yeah, for their sake, like you move it around in the schedule, but it's like you know we've seen events get cut before, and I'm not saying this is going to get cut, but like it's just yeah, it's just a tough spot in the schedule. Guys need a break. Can't play yeah that many weeks in a row, so it's
Yeah,
just like yeah, you kind of fall victim of it, which is too bad because it is a nice course, and obviously it's local for like a lot of golfers here. But yeah, you got to prepare for the signature events. So I also I get the logic from a golfer situation.
yeah,
It's just
I
it's just
totally. You can't be playing 4 weeks in a row, especially if you basically have to go to the signature
yeah,
event.
exactly.
So also during that weekend, I went down to TGL.
Oh,
Yeah, so Um, yeah, it was a great weekend and one of the coolest experiences ever. And I ended up getting to meet Jason Kelsey.
nice.
Yeah, so I was right behind him in an ESPN scene.
Oh, really? No kidding.
Yeah, yeah,
Was
and then
it
I got a picture with him.
was it the one he did at the bar, right? You went to the
Yeah,
bar.
it was
Okay.
that.
Nice, nice. That's so
Yeah,
cool, dude.
yeah. So I know you spent a lot of time there as of recently.
Mhm.
Do you think it plays into the factor of literally every night celebrities being there?
I mean, yeah, it was a hotbed this past year. It was a little bit like that in season 1, but, like, honestly, I felt like this year was more like not the equivalent to, like, the celebrity row that you see at, like, Lakers games and Knicks games, but it really did feel like, "Alright, who's gonna be there tonight?" And, those suites, so, yeah, a lot of big names, obviously, having, Jason and then Travis came, one of the nights. That was huge, I'm trying just a lot of big guests throughout the year, but, yeah, you know, it's a popular area for celebrities to, a lot of them live in Miami, so it's not hard for them to get up here. And I think, golf has really just become more of an interest to people as of late. I mean, you've seen what like YouTube golf has done for the sport. So TGO kind of has fallen towards, along those lines a little bit. So, you're just getting more celebrities that are into the sport and, want to check out the facility. Obviously, you've been to SoFi Center. It's just insane, like that whole setup there. And I still feel even every time I'm there, I'm like, this place is just like the technology is just out of this world. So people just want to, check out the area as well. So, but it's cool to have all the celebrities, involved. A lot of them are investors in the teams as well.
Yeah.
So, I did an event before the season with the Boston Common team and Niall Horan and Noah Khan, who are investors. They did something with Good Golf, who's
Oh
involved
yeah.
with LAGC. So it's just like you got a lot of big names involved, which is cool. So yeah.
You spoke on the whole SoFi Center in general. I mean, I know my brother had gone down there to work a few matches in the past, and he's like,
Mhm.
"It's really made for TV." And I didn't have that much like expectations on like the fan experience, but
Mhm.
I was very impressed based on like it's made for TV, but the fan experience is crazy.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear. I actually would love to dive into that even more. I think they did a better. It was better this year for sure. I think season one, and totally understandable because like this is like a novelty thing, and if it felt quiet at times throughout season one, but I think golf fans are used to being quiet on the course, so like they didn't quite know how to react sometimes, and like literally, which is kind of funny they had to do that this season, but they made like a video on the jumbotron of Roger Steele being like teaching fans how to like be fans at the SoFi Center, and like you can clap, you can boo, you can make noise. Um, Hopefully they don't need to air that for season three, but like people were more rowdy this year, which I appreciated. Um, I mean, you had like more like signs and stuff, more posters. They added obviously the headphones where you could listen to the guys mic'd
Oh
up.
yeah,
Yes.
that
So
was
that was like one of the biggest
yeah.
feedback that I think media had for the league after season one is like you can't actually hear what they're saying. So that was really important to have. Thought it worked pretty good for the most part. Not always, not 100%, but it was pretty good. The farmers insurance, whatever headphones. Um, and yeah, I don't know. It was a better like in arena experience this year. And yeah, so that's good that you kind of felt that way. And what were some of your other takeaways just kind of being there? And, I know they have a lot of like fan activation stuff with like the simulators out there for fans. Like, did you get do much of that stuff?
Yeah, I did the simulators, that kind of stuff, but I think the headphones really the game changer, like hearing Matt Berry, but also hearing the players and just hearing what they're talking about. That's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, yeah, they needed that, so I'm glad they found a solution to that, and hopefully they can even improve it even more. But yeah, it's good they had both the actual broadcast and then like individual teams as well you could choose on. So I would go back and forth a lot, and broadcast wise, I was happy they added Roberto
Oh
Castro
yeah.
because that was another thing I was thinking after season one. And it's a tough job. I totally feel for Matt Berry after season one. It's tough to like anchor anything solo. But it's nice to have someone like Roberto that's played before and can actually give you that analyst cap that is needed at times for people that are more interested in like the intricate details of each match. So yeah, I thought that was a good addition too.
You spoke on Roberto. He kind of explained each hole for
Mhm.
them. I know. Obviously, like Stinger, Cenote, those were the ones that always got on social media. But do you have like a favorite hole that was kind of not really featured on every?
Hmm. I gotta even think back, and now it's been a few months since TGL. That's not Cenote and Stinger. Um, oh, I liked Caverns at the end. I think that was good, and they introduced that like late in the season. What was that? That was a part five, I believe. Yeah, it's just that's another one as far as like obviously you can't hit it too high because you hit the little I don't know what to call those things, but like sticking from the top of the cave. And you kind of really just have to be creative on that hole and how you set up your shots. So I would say that one was intriguing. The one with the bridge, I'm forgetting the name. Oh, last hole. That one's all right. Are you gonna hit it super high over the bridge? Or are you gonna hit it super low? It's just like you gotta make a decision there. Um, so I would say those. Like I gotta think because now it's been a few months since TGL, but yeah, obviously Stinger and Cenote did get a lot of the attention. And those were fun holes for sure. Like, I think guys did figure out Stinger by the end. So I am actually curious to see what they do with it. Obviously, it is just tough in general to hit it at such low apex, but like curious if they make any small tweaks to that for next year. But like, yeah, it was interesting to see them lean into that more. I think that was necessary as well. Like that's what you want to see. You don't want to see holes that guys can traditional holes you would see them do on the PJ Tour. Like you want to see things that you could literally never see in real life. So I think they should lean into more that video game like creative, you know, niche to their holes, and hopefully they do more of that next year. My guy Augie, who is the designer for those holes, like he is a really smart guy and a really brilliant dude. So I'm excited to see what he cooks up for season 3, for next year. So, but I hope they lean into that even more.
Yeah, I loved all like kind of the decisions of how the players have to make it, and not everybody does the same thing. And I
Yeah.
mean, I know there's a lot of holes that I liked with the cliffs that they were going off the
Oh,
cliff if they
yeah,
didn't.
yeah, that's good too. Yeah. So,
Oh,
what was your other favorite besides the cliff one and Cenote and Stinger? What were some of your other favorites?
I think I like the team ones, like the
Mm,
ones for each team. I really liked both. It was LA and New York's
yeah.
ones.
Well, those have cool backdrops for sure.
Yeah.
Especially like the LA one. It's like you got the Hollywood sign in the background. The Boston one's funny for me personally, the Storrow Drive, which if you've never been to Boston before, you wouldn't really relate to it. But I used to drive down Storrow Drive to go when I worked at Fenway or TD Garden, like every day. And that is like the most narrow road ever. And it's very bad for trucks. There's always a joke that like a truck gets stuck like every year during like when kids are moving into colleges, like stores trucks, because you always get stuck under Storrow Drive and the little hangings there. So I just related to that a lot when they made their team hole related to Storrow Drive, because I was like, yep, that's a difficult drive to make each day. So yeah,
Yeah. The other thing about the fan experience, Roger Steele, I really liked.
yeah,
I mean, my match, the crowd, the people around me were booing the whole time.
I love that. He's so
Yeah,
good at what he does, and he's a stud. So they made the perfect hire there for him as the in arena host. And yeah, I really like Roger a lot. So I haven't got to know him as well as I would like to. And I've had just more like casual conversations, but hopefully talk to him even more next year. But yeah, I think he's brilliant at what he does.
yeah. So evolution from season one to season two of TGL. I mean, I know I like to watch season two much more. I thought it was more exciting. I don't know if that was because I experienced it in person, but I thought it was much better. Just want to hear your opinions on that.
Yeah, I definitely thought the product was better overall. Season 1, you saw a lot more like blowout scores, where this year's everything's a lot closer, which is what you want. Obviously the expanded green was huge for the improved product. You got more approach shots, but really like I think it was almost like a 50% increase in like putts between 10 to 20 feet in season 2. So that's always the funny part about, and it's really like real golf in the sense, like, the simulator is always like highlighted and what's like promoted on social media and stuff, but winning TGL is all about, how your putting is on that day and being on
Yeah.
the green. So I think that was really improved the product a lot. That they fixed up the green. I don't want, I guess, made it easier, but like some of it was very difficult in season 1, like the slope that they had for that green, and they had a third bunker in season 1, so it was also good they removed one in season 2. So yeah, I just thought the product as a whole was improved, and we saw closer scores, and it was just more exciting at times. So um, hopefully we get that continued in season 3, and continued deeper storylines like that will all help play into the success of season 3, because season 1 was more like the novelty of it, and I feel like season 2 was more like, all right, we know what this product the idea around it, like let's see the best version of it. And I thought it was better this year, and like I said, hopefully see it improved in season 3.
Um, so one question that just popped into my head.
Mhm,
I know you talked about the green. So being around TGL a lot,
mhm.
do the players kind of get used to the green? Because I know it's obviously not like a regular green. Do they kind of get used to it, or is it kind of weird?
I mean, they practice a ton, like, before we even get there, and, like I said, a lot of them live close by, so they're able to even, like, pop in here and there at times too, so I know they practice a lot, but it is really, like, fast at green, like, we got to play it on media day, so they invited, like, all the media members to, play at SoFi Center, and I mean, obviously, like, not a great golfer, but I was thinking, I was like, I don't know how they're able to putt on this green. But so it is challenging for sure. And there's some like weird like you know bumps throughout it. But I know the guys practice a ton before we even see them. So you know, like anything, there's always challenges, but they got their practice time as well. But I know overall it is still challenging, and obviously they're able to, change the change the look of it a lot, and change pin locations often. So it's still a challenge for sure for guys.
Um, Definitely. So you were in the building at the finals, right?
Yep, I was there.
So I know watching the finals with LA dominating and Tiger's return, I thought the finals were very exciting to watch.
Yeah,
Really, Sahith Theegala really pulled
yeah,
it together in the final match. Kind of just impressions on being in the building at the championship.
yeah. It was really cool. I mean, I wasn't able to go to season one's championship. Forget the reason why. I think I had a different conflict. So this was cool for me to experience it in season two. Um, I mean, yeah, I obviously wish it was like a closer match, but there was a buzz to it, having obviously Tiger in the finals, and um, but the best team did win LAGC. Like they were just the most consistent all year. Yeah, saw it making that a difficult putt. That was cool for him, especially because he did have a few penalties. Um, I remember in that match as well. So it's kind of like saw his career to be honest. Some really bad shots, but then also made some clutch moments as well for them throughout it. So um, it was cool to see the celebration and the confetti and all that stuff. We got to talk to the team afterwards, like we always do, and got to talk to the owner, Alexis Ohanian. And I remember being in the media center and like Serena Williams, because she's
Yeah.
also an investor. She was like, I'm asking my question to Alexis, and she's like a couple feet away from me. And I'm like, that's kind of crazy. Serena Williams is like right there. Um, I do wish we got I don't know the best word, but it's like almost like I felt like the celebration was a little short lived.
Yeah.
For This is just more like being in the building. Like I feel like we had the ceremony and the confetti moment and talked to the players, but then it was kind of like over real quick. I do wish it kind of lasted a little longer. I think it was tough. A lot of guys had to like saw flew. I think it was like they were in Houston the next day, whatever the tournament that was. So a lot of guys had to like leave right away too, which I kind of felt bad
Yeah.
about. So I felt like it was a short-lived celebration, but it was fun to be in the building that day. Like it's anytime Tigers, playing or just in the building, like that just it's just a different buzz. Like it just is. Um, so yeah, I would say it was a cool experience for sure. And memorable to be there for a championship celebration.
Yeah, I totally agree with the celebration. I think it was short lived, but I did it. It was a nice touch that they had SPP there,
Yes, yes.
and that Colin was on the board even though he froze, and then they took a picture with him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I felt bad Colin couldn't be there. He was someone like if I had to rank like the top guys that I feel like really cared about TGL, like he'd be up in my top five for sure. So if I remember correctly, he had the back injury, so that's why he couldn't compete in their last couple playoff matches. So I do feel bad, and he's someone that lives in the West Coast, so he's not someone like local that could come to the match. So felt bad he couldn't be there for it, but glad they're at least able to FaceTime him. But yeah, it was funny, like kind of froze whatever the call.
Um, So I know there was a lot more alternates this season.
Mhm.
I know a lot of them really came in clutch. I know there's a few hole in ones.
Yeah,
Neil Shipley had one.
yeah.
So how did the alternates really come into play this season?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they were huge. Like, it's, started with like Chris Gotterup the first match, and then you saw Michael Thorbjornsen. Like they were honestly, it's funny how like some of the alternates were like the best players for
Yeah,
the first
Michael.
half of the season at times. And then you mentioned Neil, in his, I don't know if he played one or two matches. Like you obviously had the ace in the first match. So yeah, I mean they were huge. It was cool to see guys, step in, and especially like younger guys too. Because obviously TGL is like veteran heavy and like the names that we've all grown up with. But it was cool to a different way for people to be introduced to, not like you didn't know who they were before, but like you really like, I feel like it really added to their brand. Like guys like Akshay, like I feel like something like TGL really added to his personal brand moving forward. So I loved it personally, like seeing the younger guys in there. I hope that's continued in season 3. I would love to almost see like, not necessarily even like alternates, but just like teams having like a deeper bench. They kind of have it now because they have like 4 guys on a roster, but now like having so many alternates, it kind of changes. So I
Yeah.
would almost love to see like a deeper bench for each team. Um, but something to keep in mind too is like, because it overlaps a bit with like the PJ Tour schedule, like guys, it is a huge commitment for guys to play TGL, like, and especially like the first half of the tour schedules, like in the West Coast, and SoFi Center being here in Palm Beach Gardens in Florida. So it's like a lot of guys were making those like cross country flights. So that's just like a lot from them, to deal with. I don't feel too bad because a lot of them, got the private charters. But so I gotta be, I gotta, be realistic with that as well. But like, I love seeing the alternates in there this year. They were huge. And I love to see these rosters, continue to be deepened in season 3.
Yeah, all those guys that you mentioned, like Akshay, Michael Thorbjornsen came in clutch. Chris Gotterup was great to watch at the beginning of the season, so I
Yeah.
really like that.
I mean, not to interrupt you, but like Akshay not being there for the finals, like I know he had a commitment to play in India, and that's like his main sponsor. But like, I'm not saying they would have like won by any means Jupiter, but they were at a huge disadvantage not having Akshay for that final match. So and funny, he started off as an alternate and became like literally their best player by the end. So yeah, I mean Max Holman did step up. Tom Kim also had that ace, but Akshay was their most consistent player throughout the year.
I totally agree with that because I mean Jupiter wasn't looking like they were going to get into the playoffs, and that's why I really like TGL this season. How teams like not one team was really like the worst team the whole season,
Yeah,
and Akshay got them into that, and then he wasn't even there for the finals. So
so
so kind of a fun question here. Ideal lineup for the Motor City Golf Club. I know this is kind of on the
oh,
spot.
I don't know because it's really tough because like if you ask me like Texas, because they're gonna do Texas eventually. That's nothing like that's more speculation me saying that, but like I think they want to do a Texas team eventually. That would be easier to answer. So then you have like Scotty, you
Yeah,
got Jordan and stuff. I don't even know for Detroit because like it's hard to have guys have like an actual connection to that area. So I don't know if I can fully answer that question. I'll just name guys that I would love to see though, like in TGL. Like I would love, I mean, besides like Scotty and Jordan, like I said, like I would love, Brooks, Kepka. The Brooks
yeah.
would be on a Jupiter team, but like I would love to see Brooks involved in TGL. I think that'd be sick. Um, I mean, like I don't know, like just make some of these alternates like full-time players. So if they can't fit into some of the TGL teams from last year, like put them in, put Neil and Luke, on a Detroit team. Then if they can't, fit in with Bay Golf Club for next year, like I would love to see them full time. Um, I mean Tony Finau, like I love Tony. Like he obviously did a couple appearances for LA GC throughout the last couple of years. Like Tony's got good personality. Like that's what you want for TGL. Have him be a full time player for one of these teams. So I think that would be like honestly the answer. Some of the guys we've seen before, just put them, on one of these, like the Motor City team and whatever teams they build upon in future years. But yeah, my dream would be a Texas team down the line and have
Yeah.
Scotty. Like that would be the the cop out answer, but it's like the real answer.
So I know that the WTGL is kind of coming in. I know a lot of speculation about people wanting the men to play with the women.
Yeah.
Kind of your opinion on that?
Yeah, I think that would have been a good thought, honestly. To have a mix, I think I just think it would have been more interesting and probably we'll see how they do ratings wise, WTGL. I mean, I'm excited to still cover it for sure. Like I'll be there a lot, but I think that would have been a good way to transition, having the LPGA players into this TGL setting. And then maybe down the line, I think it could have been okay, we'll do a standalone WTGL. So I probably would have found a way to more like integrate them for next season as opposed to just completely start a new league already. But we'll see. We'll see how the season goes. Like I said, I'm still excited to cover it. But yeah, I think it would have been more beneficial, and I would have probably preferred to see like a mix instead of just a standalone league right away. But we'll see.
I totally agree with that because I think you could try it out for a season, and if it doesn't work, you could still go to the WTGL. Just one of
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
separate
It's
leagues.
just it's a lot of work to always to start a whole league from scratch, and you know even right now, like I mean, I'm sure they're working on it behind the scenes, but like there's not even like a media rights deal because the ESPN contract was up for TGL after they had a 2-year deal. So like they're technically looking for a deal for next year for TGL, let alone WTGL. So it's just a lot at once, but you know it's not my problem per se. So I'm sure they'll figure it out. But like I just think that's a tough challenge. But we'll see how it goes. So.
So I don't know. Have you been following the PGA this weekend?
Yeah, I've been following it, a decent amount. So I haven't been,
Yeah.
sitting down per se, watching, especially yesterday because the pace of play yesterday. But I obviously follow it for sure. So.
So I kind of just a pick. I know it's early on Saturday. All I've watched is Michael Kim today. Michael Kim's been
Yeah.
like 5 under.
I mean, well, sorry, did you ask a question?
Oh,
Just
kind of just something that has surprised you so far this tournament.
I mean, how difficult the pin placements are. Yeah, I mean, it's just like obviously that show, like there's been no one that's really like stood out from the pack. So you got a lot of like close scores, which shows that like how difficult the course is. And maybe I think Rory or Scotty or maybe both touched on Battle yesterday. It's just like that shows like maybe the pin placements aren't in the best spots. If like the best players in the world are having a hard time separating, themselves. So, that's like, and that's its own conversation. Like a lot of people are like, "Oh, I love seeing these guys struggle just like me, out on the court." And it's like I do get that to an extent, but I also don't want to see these guys like really be like awful.
Yeah.
It's not like fun to watch. So like, I mean, when it's like, it feels like it's almost impossible for guys to get like birdies and eagles right now. Like that's not that fun to me. So like, it's almost like guys are like avoiding to get like bogeys, which is like that's a difficult mindset to have. When you're really just trying to get to par, honestly. So, I would say that's been one of the big takeaways. I mean, obviously, like, the weather conditions have been tough the last couple days. I haven't even looked today really that much, but like, it's heard it's supposed to be nicer this weekend, so that shouldn't be as much of a factor. Maybe the greens will be a little slicker than they already are, but like, I would just say that like the pin placements have been difficult, and it's obviously shown in like the scores, and so it's kind of hard to predict like who might win this. So maybe that's a positive, but like it is just hard since everyone's like bunched up together.
Yeah, I'm definitely hopeful that the weekend will be nicer and easier to watch because the scores are already low. And I know
Yeah,
in Connecticut it's very warm out today, so probably same in Philly. So
yeah, I'm sure. So we'll see.
this has been great. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
of course, man. Thanks again for reaching out, and excited to see how your career goes, and follow your channel, and maybe we'll do this again down the line. So hope so.
Yeah, thanks so much for the advice. Alongside Tyler Boronski, I'm Leo Kapkoff signing off for Level Up Sports with Leo.